Welcome to a football show Monday edition. That is Paul Kaharski. I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, and I'm sure plenty of people needed a drink on Sunday. The drama has continued with another trade here on Monday, so we'll get to all that good stuff coming up this week, today on the show. PK, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Good to see you again. Welcome back.
It's been good. I'm still recovering. But I know nobody wants to hear about that.
No one wants to hear it. Yeah.
No, nobody does. If you want to get into the chat, though, please do so. Jump into the comment section. We will try to take a lot of your questions today on the show as the Titans fall 38-14 to the Indianapolis Colts. Mike McCoy, interim head coach, now 0-2. What is different about this team through two games that Mike McCoy is doing that Brian Callahan did not do? We'll get into that. I've got a game to play. Not a fun one necessarily. But I've got a game to play. I bet you can probably get most of the answers correct. So I want to see how much if our audience can keep up with you.
Sounds scary.
As this little game we're going to play that ties into Roger McCreary being traded, and for what amounts to a trade in draft picks, a swap in draft picks, moving up basically around 2 rounds. We'll get into some questions about that, and of course, right off the heels of the Jarvis Brownlee trade, another position that Roger McCreary plays after I think Brownlee had the game deciding pass deflection. And a victory, the first victory for the New York Jets, which, of course, in a roundabout way, PK, is good for the Tennessee Titans.
Helps the Titans for sure in the battle for the highest draft pick, but there's so much that goes into strength of schedule between now and then. I mean, obviously, the Jets needed to win one at some point. Titans-Saints becomes a very intriguing game down the road, and we'll see what else goes on here.
Good to see all of you guys in the comments. Hello to Bustin. At least the Titans are making me laugh. I do have a positive question that I think will tie into the coaching search that I think we can discuss coming up a little bit later on here. Can Chauncey Billups invite Amy to play cards? Wow, Ed. And Roger McCreary was overvalued by our fan base, but extremely undervalued by this front office. That's fascinating there. Would either of you prefer to be traded to a contender at this point, says DVH.
I disagree about McCreary. I mean, let's jump into McCreary. You're trading away 9 games. You're trading for 9 games. He's not under contract beyond that. So people thinking that they're taking that out of the equation, and they're thinking that you're trading for the value of Roger McCreary, the player. And they're thinking that you're giving away the value of Roger McCreary, the player. You're not. It's 9 games. He's not under contract beyond this year. So they jumped up almost 2 rounds for giving away Roger McCreary. I think that's probably about the right value. The thing is that you'd like for the Titans to be doing in these deals is coming away with additional picks. But that doesn't seem to be the market. Now, maybe it should have been the market for Brownlee, who is under contract for a couple more years and has played well, obviously, since going to the Jets and moving to the slot. And I think there's a lot more disputable about the Brownlee thing, particularly after the fact. But with McCreary and with anybody else that's likely to get traded now in the coming days between now and a week from tomorrow, November 4th is the trade deadline. You're probably dealing guys that aren't under contract beyond this year. So you're trading 8 or 9 games of them, and 8 or 9 games of a guy does not have tremendous value. And these are not guys that that the other team is going to be dying to sign up long-term. They're guys that are going to be patchwork players that might help them. Look, the Rams didn't need a nickel necessarily. They might need outside help because they kind of rotate out there, but I think the overvaluing part of that is right. I'm not so sure about the undervaluing, though. You might have waited a week to see if you got any more. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think to me, the McCreary thing is more about the future strategy of the team almost than anything else. He is an average. Jarvis Brownlee was like not a top 80 corner, but that's a starting corner in the NFL in which 32 teams deploy 3 starters. Roger McCreary, probably not a top 60 corner, but a starting corner. And so that's 2 starters you've given up to essentially acquire a high 5th round pick and a 6th round pick while giving up a 7th round pick and a 6th round pick. So you just moved up in the draft twice for 2 starting players at a position that, as you've pointed out on social today, is a glaring hole in the roster moving forward. So I want to step back We'll get into I'm going to get into the details of McCreary specifically and the Colts game to some degree, but not that there's a ton to discuss there. But I want to know, like, what is the right strategy for a team that's going to have enormous holes to fill all over its roster and a large amount of its salary cap usable for stuff. I mean, Ridley, Pollard, Snead, probably all off the books. Like, it's going to be a lot of money. And so while McCreary might not be the right answer, unless you're signing him to some 4-year guaranteed contract, you're not going to be locked up with McCreary long term. That's going to keep you from making bigger, more important moves down the road. But you do need functioning bodies on the field. So, like, what should you do with the money you could have given Roger McCreary? Like, again, you sign him for 3 years, 2 guaranteed, one that's you can cut him after 2. I don't know, what does he make? $10 million a year? Like, he's not going to get a huge paycheck.
Not even that. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see what the market dictates down the road. But I think they want to love the guys on their roster, and this tells you that they didn't love Roger McCreary going forward. Now, they have to reshape the entire cornerback room. We're not presuming Snead's going to be back. They can get out from under some of the money. They'll take a cap hit, but save cash. And so, they need 3 starting cornerbacks next year. You presume 1 from the draft, at least 1.5. Maybe they see Harris as a potential starter. Maybe he's the 3rd guy. You need at least 2. You're going to need 3 bodies. And I would think they've got already, a couple guys in mind in free agency that probably are not, home run guys, but guys that they feel are going to be better than Roger McCreary and Jarvis Brownlee were for them, that fit what they want to do. And then they're going to spend one of their top 3 draft picks on one.
Well, and I think I'm reminded of John Robinson's first offseason as a general manager. They were really bad. They had won 2 games. They'd already drafted Marcus. They had the number 1 pick. Remember, they trade back to, 13 and then back up to 8. But his free agent class was Rashad Johnson. I think it was Rashard Matthews. It was Ben Jones. It was a bunch of just serviceable pieces.
Parts.
They weren't anything special, but they did fix some problems. And the Ben Jones signing fixed the problem for a long time. And so I'm curious if that's the strategy they think they're going to deploy, like, they have to do something with the money. I know they can roll it over, and I know in this league that's more beneficial than in other leagues. But for a piece that small, that's the thing. You just have to. I agree with you. It has to just be. Now, McCreary's not a part of our team moving forward. And again, I don't think he was some great loss. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Roger McCreary here and do sour grapes, but like, these guys were not great players. They were average players. But for the Titans, average is pretty good.
Yeah. Especially right now. I mean, they're not going to be any better without him. That's for damn sure. Just as they haven't been any better without Brownlee. So anything you take away right now from a bad roster only makes a bad roster worse, really. And so they've got to deal with the consequences of that also, which is, I mean, this group they're picking from to put people on the field, against the Chargers is really, really bad. And, it'd be one thing if they made a waiver claim or 2 in Jalen Armour Davis and Sam Womack, who looked promising. We haven't seen Womack play any defense. I've played a couple snaps on Sunday when somebody got hurt. But Jalen Armour Davis has been terrible. And so, if we're to believe, their scouting eye tells them that Jalen Armour Davis is a guy that they like and that Jarvis Brownlee is a guy that they don't like. Well, let's hope that their Jalen Armour Davis, they have decided is just a body also, and it's not going to be somebody that now maybe they bring him, through the offseason and think they can development him and stuff. But if he doesn't in training camp, he's got to be very much a practice squad guy at best for them, or where does our faith in their ability to improve and / evaluate go?
Let's get to some of these comments here real quick. Smeagol, has Borgonzi had a trade that didn't include a pick swap? Can he just get a straight up pick? LOL.
Well, what do you want him to do? If this is what you can get, what do you want him to do?
I think you're right, but I think he was a little tongue in cheek there from Spiegel. Richard says, no problem trading McCreary for a pick swap, but in hindsight, they should have gotten an outright pick for Brownlee. Maybe that's fair. I think you've already kind of alluded to that. Austin said, was this Ward's best outing as far as seeing the field? I still need to watch the tape on some of those throws because there was a few plays where he held the ball a little too long, and we don't know if there were people open on some of those snaps or not. But I think he played well in the second half. The problem is against who and in what situation that mattered. I think that once you're down 31-7, I don't think your throws are really all that important.
No, he's been, stat accumulating in some second halves. Last two games, I mean, his numbers have looked a lot better in the last two games, but his fourth quarter numbers have been probably particularly good in those games. Look, he didn't turn the ball over in this game except on a fourth down where he had to try to force a play, right? Which is more than you can say for his coach, who wouldn't try to force or push anything.
Well, and even on that throw, I'm okay with the decision and it looked like it was behind him. Looked like it was behind him though. You had an open receiver. You got to hit the open receiver. And I know there's a lot of apologizing. Elk Iomanner slowed his route down or so-and-so, and Mike McCoy made a bad decision. And I agree with all of that. Ward still has to be better too. I'm not saying Ward's the problem here, but he needs to be better also. So let me do a quick, by the way, Sinkers Beverages, by the way, let's talk about Sinkers for just a second, because then I want to do a draft game with you. Spirits and Spirits is tonight at Mickey's Tavern, starting at 7 o'clock, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. They've got a brand new special single barrel tequila release, a reposada that you're going to want to try. So come on out, 7 o'clock. If you know Mickey's Tavern, it is the best place to play darts anywhere in the city. Don't tell anybody about that. But they are going to have some cool stuff. I'm assuming some Halloween theme there this week as the kids get ready to trick or treat. You might as well treat yourself to a little tequila, single barrel by Sinkers Beverages. That's what they do for the community. So come on out, Mickey's Tavern, 7 o'clock to midnight today on a Monday. If you're listening, on Tuesday, I'm sorry. I apologize. This is why the folks who listen live get the most benefits. Shotgun Willie's Barbecue as well, Wednesday to Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. All right, quickly. So I was watching, some of this is about the Colts matchup. Some of this is about the McCreary trade. So I thought that Taylor and Pittman were kind of joined together for the Colts. Not in the game, but in the story of the Colts. And I'd forgotten that they were picked within 9 picks of each other. That Jonathan Taylor, that 5 picks after John Robinson selected Isaiah Wilson in 2020. Michael Pittman was selected 34th overall with the second pick in the second round. Jonathan Taylor was then picked 9 picks later at 41. In the next 3 draft classes, including that one, how many players that the Titans have drafted since those two guys, who, by the way, on Sunday, Jonathan Taylor, obviously 3 touchdowns, 3 straight games against the Titans. No one's ever done that. 63 rushing touchdowns, number 2 all-time in Colts history, behind only Edgerrin James at 64. And Michael Pittman now tied for 9th, or passes Dallas Clark for 9th all-time in receptions. Point is, they drafted 2 guys in the second round, not even 5 years ago, who are already on their all-time leading list of all kinds of offensive
May I interject? I like Michael Pittman, but I don't think Michael Pittman is a special player per se. He's going to be a free agent after this year. I'm certain he'll get overpaid by somebody and be overvalued because not that many guys come to market. Well, I think he's somebody the Titans should look at. But the Colts haven't had a 100-yard receiver this year. I don't think, in this offensive onslaught, which tells you a little bit about what Jonathan Taylor is doing and how their scheme spreads the ball around. But Michael Pittman's a good player. Michael Pittman's not anything close to a great player.
No, but he will be a model of consistency for a number of years, at least for this contract. He'll be there because he already signed his extension, I guess. So he's there for, 2020 is not that long ago. The point is that taking the Isaiah Wilson pick out of this, because that happened literally 5 picks earlier. And I'm not going to go back and be like, oh, you should have taken T. Higgins, because you obviously should have taken T. Higgins, who was 1 pick ahead of Michael Pittman. Point is, Michael Pittman has been a very productive player at that draft slot and a very useful player. And the two of them are the core of the offense with Quentin Nelson. of an organization that has gone up and down, but has been very consistent and offensively very, very productive for the last 5 years.
Blown by you now.
Since that draft, because a lot of Titans fans point to literally in that moment of the draft picking Wilson, right?
That's the moment for me.
7 draft picks in 2020, 8 draft picks in 2021, 9 draft picks in 2022. How many of them are on the team right now? That's 23 total draft picks since the Colts took Michael Pittman. And
only
Jonathan
Chig
Taylor
is left from the Roger McCreary draft out of 9 guys. I know that because I looked at that today. I'm bad at identifying draft classes. Who are the other 2 classes?
He's the only one.
He's the only one from 3 drafts.
Out of 23 draft picks that happened after the Colts took Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, 2 cornerstone pieces of varying importance to their organization that just proceeded to destroy you on Sunday, you have 1 player on the team.
So yes, John Robinson, you are still a big part of why the Titans are ass, to answer your Instagram post.
Mine, I didn't do that.
No, his.
Oh yeah, right. And if you go all the way to 2023, so 1 more draft class, right? So 2020, 21, 22, 23. How many active players on the team on Sunday? In 4 draft classes.
How many active?
Yeah.
3?
3. You got it. Skoronski, Spears, and Chig. And that's it.
Yeah. And Spears isn't a starter as a situational guy. And this is another problem when you talk about McCreary. I mean, Spears was what, a 3rd rounder? That's
Spears
too high.
Was a third rounder.
Too high for a situational guy. McCreary was a 2nd rounder. Way too high for a situational guy. A guy like McCreary's got to be drafted in the 4th round. A guy like Spears has to be drafted probably in the 5th round. I mean, when you tab those slots, our change of pace back comes in what round? 4th, 5th. Our cornerback comes in what? 4th, 5th. Yeah.
I mean, Darrington Evans was a 3rd round pick. Like,
also,
what are we doing? What are we doing? Anyway, I thought the getting destroyed, by the way, by a free agent quarterback, by those 2 players. And I just sort of, to me, I know you always look at that moment in that draft class and you kind of go, that was where it all went south. And for the Colts to have taken Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman literally not even 15 within the next 15 picks, both after the Isaiah Wilson one, just sort of like drove home the point for me while I'm watching this game. And then McCreary gets traded and you look at the 9 draft picks and you go Burks, McCreary, NPF, Haskins, Malik Willis, Kyle Phillips, Theo Jackson, Chase Campbell. Irrelevant. Farley, Radens, Rice, Molden, Des Fitzpatrick, Weaver, McCrath, and Breeze. Irrelevant.
I mean, how many are even in the league?
Fulton was good.
Radens is in the league. That might
Christian
be the only
Fulton.
guy in the league. Christian
Fulton. Yeah. Haskins is not healthy, but he's technically in the league, I guess. So again, this is not
Haskins actually has played pretty well out there.
And I'm not trying to belabor a point that everybody already knows, which is like the John Robinson struggled, and that 23 class is Rand and Brinker, and then you go 24, and that's Rand and Brinker, which is Latham, Sweat, Gray, Brownlee, Jackson, Harrell, Williams, Harrell. Gray looks like a nice piece. Latham could be. Sweat was out there. So again, I'm not. This is not new stuff, but it just was crystallized watching, 2 second-round picks do what they did for the Colts, while the Titans' second-round pick is traded away along with almost every other piece of draft assets that this team acquired over a 3-year period of time. And that's just not that is still a hole that we have to acknowledge when you look at the depth on this roster. That's the main problem why they're struggling.
Yeah, I saw somebody say, thought they were taking it down to the studs. They're really taking it down to the foundation, which, is true. I mean, this roster is about as thin as you can get. If they win a game, it's by absolute surprise. The one they got was, they had to do some things with the gifts, but it was gifted to them. It's hard to imagine them winning again with what they have and the injuries that they have. You can't get injured if you're this thin. Also, I think people are highly unrealistic about injuries. I had a lot of injury talk last night on my podcast. People, I think other teams are healthy. Like everybody.
Have you seen the Bucks? Have you seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Oh yeah, just and they win. Strong franchises have to be deep and lucky, and the Titans are neither.
Theo Jackson is starting for the Vikings. Is that correct? Says Eddie. So again, I want to kind of take the roster problems and the trade of McCreary, and I like Chig is the next one on the list. We could talk Jeffrey Simmons as well, and like how many more pieces do you expect to be moved if they are taking it down to the foundation? Because Simmons is the one thing where you could get a bunch back. If you trade a top 3 pick, you can add even more capital, and you can start to do what you think Chad and Mike Borgonzi have talked about, which is you need to have like 30 picks over 3 years, and you need to have 15 in the top 3 rounds or whatever. Like, I'm not even sure those are exactly
12
numbers, but 12. But you can't do that without trading Simmons and trading the number 1 pick back in the first round, which I'm not opposed to that. What is the right asking price for Simmons? And then if you're not going to re-sign pieces like Brownlee or McCreary, and I'm not even going to argue with them on why they did that. One was culture, one was he might just be a guy we don't like. But if you're not going to re-sign the players like Chig, all you're doing is creating cap space for no real reason and leaving another hole in your roster. So what is the right, like I know I kind of already alluded to strategy, but what are they actually doing?
Well, I think you're giving a new coach a lot of leeway to help you choose a roster that you're going to put together, that the culture change he's going to want to bring. He's going to have a lot of room to instill in new guys that are coming together. And you try to do what Washington did 2 years ago in Adam Peters' first year, where they did a very nice job with the draft class. That draft class included the quarterback, but a draft class, and they had a lot of patchwork free agents that worked out for them. And not filled with studs, filled with role players, Sebastian Joseph Day types.
Yeah.
And can the Titans do that? Okonkwo, I think he's good when they get the ball in his hands. They don't frequently enough plan to get the ball in his hands. He seems to get the ball in his hands like after the game's over,
fourth quarter,
as a secondary guy. So if they're not going to plan to use him, that tells me they don't really like him that much. There's room, I believe, for Gunnar Helm and Chig Okonkwo.
Agree.
But they don't act like it. Also, I don't know, how much people want Chig Okonkwo. It seems like there are guys like that all over the league. And so, I haven't examined rosters around the league of contenders who are yards after the catch, non-blocking tight end away. But
when you put it that way, PK,
it's a niche thing, right? But I mean, people who are expecting a 4th rounder back are going to be severely disappointed. You're going to get a return like you got from McCreary.
Okay, here you go. 8 receptions for 59 yards in the first half for Chig this season. 19 receptions for 212 yards in the second half. Clearly a second half player for Chig Okonkwo. Fourth quarter, by far the most targets, by far the most receptions for Chig in the fourth quarter. So there you go. I agree with you. This is the same conversation as a lot of these guys. They are not franchise defining, trajectory changing players. But Chig is I think a good part of the team. Like from a personality standpoint, he's a smart dude. He's connected to a lot of people. He knows the offense. Like it seems like he gets along well with the star quarterback you're trying to develop. He's at least something dependable and known. And why not give him a couple $1 million to fill a hole that you have to fill at some point if you don't sign him? Because otherwise, if you have Gunnar Helm, what else do you have? Nothing else. You've got to go spend money on somebody.
Here's Andrew Cooper. How do you draft DK over Scadaboo when you have no power running game? Well, they're not desiring to be a power running team for starters. It's a secondary thing. They drafted Khalil Mullings, who's been hurt, for that. But what would you be saying right now if they drafted Cam Scadaboo over DK? Oh, my God, they got a guy who's out for the year. He's hurt already.
It's the trainer's fault, PK.
And meanwhile, DK, you're going to complain about DK, who the last 2 weeks has really come on nicely. They've stopped throwing him the ball at the line of scrimmage. They've actually thrown him the ball where he could use his speed. I mean, you're going to bitch about one of the few bright spots on the team. There are 53 guys on this roster. There are 5 who are doing shit. Complain about somebody but one of the 5 who's doing shit.
It's funny. I was looking at his game logs to double check his snap counts because I wanted to ask you, one of the questions I want to talk about today is sort of what is Mike McCoy doing actually differently? And how does it affect Cam Ward? How does it affect the young players around the quarterback? Because the one positive thing, and I was trying to get to this so we could actually spend a few minutes on this, which is that Gunnar Helm makes another really special catch down the sideline, scores his first touchdown. DK has a career day in every sense of the word. Io Manor is still kind of there.
He's sputtering.
Wide receiver 3. Sputtering. I get it. But, Cam hits him on that one smash route in the second quarter, and we're not on a 3rd and 15, and we're talking about how he had a pretty good game. So, but I don't disagree. He's also in his first 10 games as a player in the NFL, just like these other guys.
I like all 3 of them, but 2 of them right now are ascending, and one of them's descending, I think.
Okay, that's fair. And so what I was interested in is, as I was looking up the game logs, because I wanted to check his snap count. So DK, 63 snaps, offensive snaps, 89% yesterday on Sunday. That is by far the most in either of those categories. He had kind of gone from 10 snaps in game 1 to mid-20s, and then for a couple of games with Callahan, it was 30. Then he had 30 snaps last week. So by far his biggest usage. But I was surprised at how many catches he had, because he has 11 catches in 2 games, 12 targets. 11 out of 12 is a great ratio. But 17 yards a catch, 13 yards a catch. This is hard to do. He had, let's see here. He had 9 receptions for 26 yards.
What game was that?
For the whole season.
For the whole season, yeah.
Until McCoy took over.
Throwing him the ball at that line of scrimmage.
You know how hard it is to average 3 yards a catch as a receiver?
Not that hard if you're on the Titans.
I thought he had like 2 catches or something, like I thought, and no, he's got 9 catches for 26 yards, less than 3 yards a catch going into the 2 weeks ago.
And look, I'm in favor of trading Chig, but Anthony Keys says, get Chig out of here. We have a cheaper, more well-rounded player in Gunnar. Well, if you're a decent team, you're allowed to have 2 players at the same position. And as soon as you trade Chig, Gunnar gets hurt, and then you have David Martin Robinson, who's just a guy. Very much the definition of just a guy. So, ultimately they want to build depth. It would be okay for them to have depth at pass catching tight end.
So the not going for it and Cam coming off the field, taking the helmet off and kind of saying, yo, Mike, go for it, man. Like, what are we doing? I believe that was late second quarter where they're down in there.
Early third.
Early third. They're down by 10. They're in plus territory and they decide not to go for it. Very next play, of course, is an 80-yard touchdown run for Jonathan Taylor, the longest of his career. And so ultimately, I don't think they're doing anything differently. I think they're running a little bit more play action, possibly. I have to check the numbers on the last game, but I know they did that 2 games ago with Mike McCoy. And so the question is sort of like, what's the right strategy with Cam at the forefront, but also all the other young players? I think it's okay in a season where there's not a lot to get excited about for Titans fans to say, look, DK looks like a real player. Gunnar Helm looks like a real tight end. Io Manor looks like a real depth piece. Spears looked really good. You got Skoronski and Latham now back healthy. There's problems, but there's also if you're trying to find these tiny morsels of positivity, there are some things there, and that they are all going to learn together, especially the rookies with Cam Ward, because they're his receivers. What is the right way to handle all of that moving forward? Is it to go for it more? Is it change the strategy, change the play calling, change the route concepts? Like, what is the right way to foster all of that growth together? Sling it around in 2 minutes, every minute of the game? What's the right way to do it?
Not with Mike McCoy. I mean, he's shown himself in these 2 games that he's not going to do anything substantially different. He's very much a Brian Callahan school guy, and he's going to be conservative in the same way that Brian Callahan was conservative, which is part of the reason that Brian Callahan couldn't make things work or grow. And now we're getting Brian Callahan's mentor who's making the same conservative decisions. He punts twice from the other side of the 50. It's been 20 times that the Titans have crossed midfield and gotten no points this season. That's 2.5
Oh
times
my God.
a game. That's Nick Suss special. 2.5 times a game they cross midfield and they get no points.
Wow.
Mike McCoy had no explanations for anything yesterday. He defaults to conservatism, and they're down 17-7 on 4th and 3 from the Indy 32, and they don't go for it. Now, what's the benefit of that on the other side? You punt and you pin them deep, which they didn't. The ball went in the end zone. But even if you pin them deep, like, what is your hope? All right, you have a defensive stand and you get the ball back. I mean, you're down 2 scores. You're going to conceivably get within 1 score. Do you think that you're going to shut them down? One of the 2 best offenses in the league? Like, is that your plan? We're going to stand toe-to-toe with the Colts, who are the highest scoring team in the league, who have the most offensive touchdowns in the league. Is that your thinking? Because that's really stupid thinking. I'm sorry, just flat out. If that's your plan, like, we're going to punt and we're going to stay within 2 scores here because we're going to stop them defensively, and then we're going to score, and then we're going to hold them again, and then we're going to score again. I mean, you're living in fantasy land. You've got to take advantage of every opportunity you have to get as close as you can to try to slug it out with them. But this idea that you're going to hold them like they have 17 points and we're going to keep them around 17 points. Or are you thinking, hey, we're going to break out today and we're going to score 35? What's the evidence that you're capable of scoring 35? All these scenarios tell you you have to go for it there. And your quarterback tells you have to go for it coming off there. And you know who tells you have to go for it there? Mike McCoy, who says today he regrets the decision. Well, don't regret the decision on Monday. Make the effing decision on Sunday. You're the same as Callahan. He is awful, 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 awful. I want him out of Nashville like 5 minutes after the season is over. Get out of our city and take your conservative, stupid nonsense with you. This is an atrocious hire. That this is the best that they could come up with as a solution to Brian Callahan. It's just adding to everyone's misery. And I hold Brinker and Borgonzi and Amy Adams Strunk in contempt for it. You couldn't find somebody that was going to change things more than this on that staff. That's ridiculous.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but this goes to the question. Like, I think the most important thing they need to consider, and I agree with your complaints about the interim tag on a guy who is, not going to change a whole lot.
Instead of loosen up.
He's not going to change much on the field. He's also not going to do what Brian Callahan does off the field, which is at least give you like thoughtful, sort of nuanced answers about stuff as a reporter. And I hear you on that. But I also want the guy with the most experience that has the highest floor to make sure that things stay the way they need to for the pieces that need some consistency. And that is Cam Ward and his young receivers and the young offensive line. And again, is it more play, like James Foster's like, man, we need more 2-person routes, maybe a 30-person route with play action, no reading, no progression, just make the good throw. I think you need to see all of the young players on the field at the same time, like permanently. I don't know what you do with Calvin Ridley, but I don't need as much Van Jefferson. I don't need, like, give me Spears and Helm and DK and Iobanner.
Everybody agrees with that.
And let's see what happens. But like, how do you but what is
these guys are thirsty for aggression? Cam said that. I talked to Skoronski and to Gray, and I said, shouldn't you guys be a little bolder, push a little more? And they said, yeah, I can't disagree with that. These guys would respond to that, and nobody's giving it to them. Yeah. And here you are in the middle of this. What's the point?
What is there to lose? Like, what are you risking here?
Yeah, you're risking being risky. You can't be risky. Got to play by the book. Keep it close to the vest. Give me more cliches.
QC says should have been Bones. I mean, obviously Bill was not going to take the job, so who should it have been? Denard Wilson. Give him a chance to see what he's got.
It should have been somebody other than Mike McCoy. After 2 games, I feel completely comfortable saying that. Should have been Bones.
I would be fine with Denard Wilson also getting an audition. I don't think he's done anything special enough to be deserving of being in the running for head coach. But why not see what he's got? I mean, look at these coaches around the league that sometimes, and this is maybe more of a college thing, that sometimes the interim coach does things you don't expect him to, and that's why you give him a shot. Is because, hey, we got nothing to lose here. Let's go with Brent Key, at Georgia Tech, and look where they are now, undefeated in the top 10.
I'm sure Denard feels like his hands are tied behind his back. I mean, he liked Brownlee. It's not a secret. He liked Brownlee. He wanted to play Brownlee.
Yeah.
That other stuff is not of his concern. It's over his pay scale. And so then they take away Brownlee. They say, here's Armour Davis, and go make something of him. Well, he can't make something of him. I'm sure he's thinking, well, shit, it's bad enough. And then you take away a guy that can play and you give me this. What are you expecting me to do exactly?
Well, while, of course, your two most talented players in Simmons and Ridley are not available, at least for the short term. So we'll see what's up. Denard's a Rand guy that hurt him, says Joe. I don't know if I guess that's possible, but I think they hired I think they gave someone a tag who'd be the least disruptive. And it's very clear that that's the case. He's continuing.
It's not going to take away from the defense, and it's not going to take away from the special team. It's not going to take away from the offense because he wasn't doing anything with the offense, right. And he can manage the offense. Right. Woo! Let's not disrupt this 1-5 machine we've got going here. You wouldn't want to take away anyone's attention from what they're have functioning so well. So we're gonna put Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's in charge.
What about?
I don't know if you could tell, but I'm done with McCoy.
Yeah, no, I could tell. What do you say? What do you say about Simmons and the conversations around Simmons? That the national folks are saying one thing, local folks are saying another thing, kind of to some degree, and then there's a lot of speculation out there because it's that he's the best player. And
I've moved from they should deal him to they probably shouldn't deal him. But if they got proper return, I wouldn't have any problem with them making the move. I mean, if you're bottoming out, then bottom all the way out. But you got to get a first plus, and nothing outgoing except Jeff. So you get a first and a third, a first and a conditional fourth. That's not going to be a high first because the teams that are going to want Jeffrey Simmons are teams that are close. Who feel like he can throw them over the hump. But I could also see saying like we've got one legitimate blue chip player on this team, and on this rock we will build our church.
What is he going to be, like 35 when that church is done being built? I mean,
according to Eddie George, yes. But I think they could be, I'm a firm believer in any team can be significantly better in 1 year and way, way better in 2.
Yeah, I think acquiring as many assets at this point, if you're going to get rid of Brownlee and McCreary and signal to the team and to everyone else that you're open for business and that you're tearing it down, I'm with you. That don't do a halfway. Don't half-ass it. Take it all the way down.
Here's my thing. I've said this before. If he was a corner or a receiver or an edge, I'd definitely say leave it alone. But I want this team to focus on the positions. And I understand defensive tackle's gotten more important, and everybody talks about quarterbacks hate the pocket to collapse from the inside and all of that. That's great. What are the positions? If I could let you have what you wanted right now, what are you going after quarterback? And how long does it take you to get the defensive tackle?
Yeah, well, you should be able to find the tackle in second, third round a little bit easier than you do the star receiver, which, and this kind of raises up another question that I was going to ask you about as it pertains to the general direction of the franchise moving forward. There's a lot of talk around the defensive or offensive coach, the strategy in which direction they're going to go. I think you got to hire the best guy. But I think the conversation around Callahan, and you and I haven't really had a chance to talk about this, but the conversation around Callahan, to me, I can already tell I'm going to be going through deja vu all over again, because if they go hire I'm going to use Joe Brady as a stand-in name here. If they go hire an inexperienced offensive mind who's the next up-and-comer, it's going to be the exact same conversation that we all have, that we had around Brian Callahan. And while Brady's in Buffalo, correct, with Josh Allen, I believe, again, Nick Sussa said this, like there's like one guy ever who's come off of a historically great Hall of Fame quarterback as a coordinator or play caller or quarterback's coach and gone on to be a great coordinator, and that's Andy Reid. And that was more than 20 years ago that it was possible. All the guys who come off great quarterbacks aren't that great. And so is he count in this conversation? Probably. Josh Allen's pretty good. So ultimately, I am kind of on the other side of this, which is go get the leadership defensive guy, maybe one with some experience as a head coach, maybe one who's a retread. I'm fine with it because it's a stopgap, because it doesn't feel like this team's going to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. You're trying to build around the quarterback, and you can take an offensive coordinator who is kind of the next level of guy, but not ready for a head coaching job, and put him underneath a defensive coach who then has to all the things that Brian Callahan says he couldn't, it was too much for him. All the head coaching stuff was too much for him. Bring a defensive guy in that can run the whole ship, who's the CEO, and let the offensive guy focus on the offense and developing what's best for Cam Ward. I know that's the pendulum swinging back and forth, and I know that's very cliche, but I am not attracted to going and just trying the next Brian Callahan. That doesn't feel like the right thing to me. Where are you at on offense or defense for the coach?
Yeah, I think you just got to find the best guy, and if they wound up following the Callahan kind of route again, so long as he had play calling experience or was not going to be the play caller and bring a play caller with him, I couldn't say don't do it again just for the sake of not doing it again if your evaluation is thorough and you decide that's the best route. I don't think the route was the problem. I think Callahan just turned out to not be good. Yeah. But I mean, I think Saleh and McDaniels has been floated a lot. Mike Herndon's big on that. I've heard something in the last couple of days that suggests to me that there could be a market for Mike McDaniels as a head coach post Miami.
That seems odd.
Yeah. Now, we got somebody in here saying that Cliff Kingsbury's the absolute brings everything. He doesn't bring everything. He's failed as a head coach on both levels. He doesn't check every box. If you want successful head coach, that box is empty for Cliff Kingsbury.
He checks every box that Brian Callahan checked, which is really good offensive coordinator for a historically good quarterback. And the ones that are empty are the same ones that were empty for Brian Callahan.
Now he'd get here with play calling experience. So he's got that.
That's true. That's true.
But successful head coach, he does not have that box.
No, I don't. I'm not on the Cliff Kingsbury bandwagon either.
Head coaching experience. A lot of people love to say head coaching experience. Mike McCoy, we were supposed to be excited that he had head coaching experience. If you sucked as a head coach, I'm not saying, wow, you were a head coach. It doesn't excite me.
As a Packers fan,
some guys can graduate, like Saleh or Flores. I think we're talking about those guys as guys that showed some qualities that might make for a better second term. Some.
I am a Brian Flores. I think that is my favorite decision. And Andrew says, no. Always go OC because they won't get hired away. That was the best Titans teams. Yeah. The best Titans teams was hiring LaFleur, using LaFleur to excel at offense. Oh, heaven forbid, be really good at something, and then have him go off somewhere else. Arthur Smith was very good. They replaced Matt LaFleur just fine.
That trend seems to have slowed down also. Like, name me a team right now that's suffering because its offensive coordinators keep leaving.
I mean, the Chiefs certainly aren't suffering, but that's because Reed and Mahomes kind of cover all the bases here. I'd be curious to see what the Lions do at the end of the year without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I'm not sure how much they're suffering. They kind of got slow started. Now they're kind of back to
Lions
it.
Lions look pretty damn good.
Lions look good. I'll see what they are. I'm kind of willing to wait and see what they are. We need a wide zone scheme guy, says Andrew. For what reason?
You don't know what back you have yet, and you're already picking the scheme. Yeah. I do think this. I've been thinking about this since Vrabel came through town, and I do value the leader of men thing, which Vrabel definitely had. But I'll tell you this about Vrabel, having been around him a lot. Vrabel just energizes everybody he touches, right? That's a special.
Almost like he's just really good.
Quality, special quality. Energizes the janitor in the hallway, energizes the press in press conferences, energizes the guys at practice. He's a switch flipper. And there, I think, 2 losing seasons, and the power stuff was bad and everything. But if you're going to have a default quality that helps you trump some of your bad stuff, that's an awful good default quality to have. Now, I don't think they're going to go hunting for that, having just fired it a couple of years ago. But I think that they devalued that quality. How many guys do you know that have that just bring energy? And that picture, I don't know if you saw it. It was all over Twitter after that Titans win, with the whole team surrounding him with big smiles, the happiest Patriots locker room ever. And all the Patriots reporters were tweeting and talking about it. And they said, you never saw a picture like this, even at the height of Bill Belichick winning Super Bowls. Yeah. There was never that kind of joyous feel around that team because Bill Belichick made it a slog, and it was hard, and he wanted it to be hard. And the winning was a great result of the slog. And Vrabel has already made it a joyful thing up there with them just starting to turn the corner. And that energy thing, man, I know people think I'm too into the Vrabel stuff, but I think it's because I've been touched by that energy.
No, you are not too into it. The entire city is not into it enough. The entire city, like I remember doing a show with Zach on a football show, and I think it was the week maybe after he got kind of, I don't know, Titans fans got butt hurt because he went and accepted an award during a bye week, I guess, for the Patriots. He got inducted. And like I just remember I had talked to some folks, and I had heard a lot about what was going on behind the closed doors with the Rand Vrabel kind of headbutting. And I just looked at people and I said it on the show. I said, y'all better be ready for Mike Vrabel to be the head coach of the New England Patriots and for them to be very good. And it's not some not some Nostradamus moment. It's just one of those. It's like, this is where his heart's always been, and he's really damn good. And it's like everyone just forgot because they were blinded by maybe a couple of bad hires, maybe some loyalty to a special teams coordinator, maybe a couple of bad offensive coordinators, and a bad stretch of injuries. And all of a sudden, we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. He's one of the best football coaches on the planet. And so I think we're seeing that right now. I don't think you should chase that. Like if Robert Saleh is that, great. If Brian Flores is that, fine. I don't think you should chase it, just like I don't think you should chase brilliant offensive coach who modernizes the game, because that's what they just did too, and that didn't work. And that's what everyone raved. Well, Brian Callahan is focused on the right things. He's focused on the right players and the right types of scheme and the right this and the right that. And like it's a total crapshoot when you hire a coach. It's a total crapshoot. And so someone who's been a head coach is at least a little bit more predictable. And so if it's Robert Saleh, if it's
Flores,
Anthony Lynn, Brian Flores, guys that have been head coaches.
Anthony Lynn's terrible.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking about somebody different then. There's another I'm thinking another head coach that was fired as a defensive guy. But maybe it's so the point is like you can go find offensive coordinators, but a guy who can kind of settle down the culture and the personality of the team and kind of get everybody on the same page with a little bit of experience and, oh, by the way, handle the defense, that just makes it so much easier to take Cam Ward and do the work you need to do with him. That's all. And I'm on board with the kind of maybe it's counterintuitive, and I do agree with you. Like you got to hire the best guy that you think is best for the job, and if that's an offensive guy, then fine. It's not Mike McCarthy. As a Packers fan, the guy did not evolve his offense for almost a decade, and it's why he got run out of town, and it's why Matt LaFleur has been brilliant. Mike McCarthy is not learning. He's an old dog with no new tricks. I don't want Mike McCarthy in here. But if you can give me somebody that does have new tricks, then I'm willing to listen to that. I just think there's Vance Joseph is maybe the one I'm thinking of from a defensive coordinator standpoint. And so I'm Nick Suss has kind of talked me into that a little bit, and I'm kind of on board with that in terms of the direction and the strategy. So
couple quick comments on comments. Trade a pick for Tomlin. I mean, you think Pittsburgh's just giving up Tomlin for a pick? Let's live in the world of reality here. Todd Bowles, somebody pointed out, Jabari, very smart. Todd Bowles has lost coordinators, and Tampa Bay stays pretty good. Now, they haven't broken through, but I like that organization. It's got a good GM. I think Bowles is part of maybe what holds them back, but the offensive coordinators have gotten it done. That's been a good thing, and they've replenished pretty healthily. I couldn't tell you the coordinator's name now that's replaced Cohn, but that offense.
Grenard, is it Grenard? Jonathan Grenard? No, that's a.
Like I said, I couldn't tell you. I just said
Grizzard, maybe.
I couldn't tell you, but they're doing a good job. Jabari, that's a good pull right there. And somebody asking, I want Eddie George then because I like leader of men. Eddie George is not qualified at all to be head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He just insulted Amy Adams Strunk, so that would hopefully take him even out of the interview channel. Somebody else said he should be Chad Brinker. Sure, except for the part where he's completely unqualified to run an NFL organization. He was qualified to run very well for the Titans. He's not qualified to coach at this level yet, and he's certainly not qualified to do kind of what Tony Baselli is doing. Tony Baselli was around the Jaguars all the time. Eddie George has not been around.
Yeah. Josh Grizzard is the offensive coordinator. Second year with the Bucs. First year as the coordinator. So, for example, For example, and I'm not saying these are the names I want. I'm just as an example of a strategy. Brian Flores clearly knows what he's doing when it comes to scheming a defense. He's clearly very good at that. If you give me Brian Flores with Buster Faulkner, Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator, who's Todd Monken's disciple, who is going to get a job in the NFL if he wants to get a job in the NFL, one of the highest paid coordinators in college football. His offenses are absolutely brilliant to watch. So much fun. Pre-snap, development, they run old school stuff. They run new school stuff. It's super fun. That kind of combination. And again, Andrew's saying, I'll take Monken. My issue is hiring Todd Monken to be your head coach is sort of the Brian Callahan thing.
Yeah.
He's a great offensive mind.
If you could get him as your coordinator, that'd be great. If you could get this North Texas guy as your coordinator, that would be great. Making a jump to get him to your head coach is too extreme. You got to be way more established as an organization to make that kind of hire. And are you trusting Titans people to pick that guy? I'm not.
Well, so I assume Joe's asking about Buster Faulkner, Georgia Tech, and because he is from the Todd Monken system. I do think there's interesting questions about Monken's system being tied a little too much to Lamar Jackson in terms of like they were a really good marriage. The reason he was so successful at Georgia with Stetson Bennett, and I would argue if you can run Stetson Bennett to 2 national championships, which is a really interesting balance of the pass and run, then it's not all the way Lamar Jackson. But that's where Faulkner comes off of the Todd Monken tree, and so. Again, I'm not saying that's the guy they need to go hire. It's a guy I really like. It's a guy I think is very, very he's on a rocket ship to the top of the industry, and I think he's going to have a job soon. But that's the kind of strategy I think would work very well. Get a guy for 2 or 3 years to be your coordinator on offense, develop Cam, and if he's so good that he gets another job, that means your offenses were damn good.
Right.
And you had a lot of fun and you scored points. And oh, by the way, it makes the head coaching's job a lot easier.
And hopefully he leaves a disciple behind and you've got a line of succession. Yeah. One thing about Flores, Stillman had Breer on while you were away. Breer was very much of the ilk that the Titans as an organization being so NFL friendly would stay away from Gruden with legal case, would stay away from Flores with a legal case. When you look at Adolfo Birch, who worked for nearly 20 years, I think, in the league office in kind of that department, that they wouldn't go near anybody that's got legal issues with the NFL. And I tend to agree with that. So I would think that Flores is probably not a realistic hope.
No, he is definitely my choice. I don't think he is their choice, but I do like that strategy, which is why Robert Saleh fits very much into I think the Titans MO. And I think he would be a fine. I don't have a problem with that if you have the sort of innovative offensive package to go with it. As Forrest says, I have zero trust in Amy Adams. Wyatt says, what about Sarkisian? There's kind of this weird thing over the weekend.
Report and anti-report.
That's right. Where all of Sark's agent apparently basically told, this is according to reports, basically told NFL personnel and people in front offices, we're open for business. Come give us a call. And then Jimmy Sexton, the most powerful agent in all of college athletics, along with Sark, had to put out this sort of statement basically saying, oh, that's not true at all. We're very, very happy at Texas, but we shall see. So I think Sarkisian is a really, really good offensive mind. I think what he's been very good at Texas doesn't necessarily translate, which is sort of like you have to manage the big picture stuff at Texas, which to keep Texas on the tracks is very difficult. A lot of cooks in the kitchen. You got to deal with boosters and fundraising. It's more off the field stuff to be good at Texas. And I don't know if that's what he's really good at or if he's delegated that or if that translates to the NFL.
Well, that's probably why he would like to be in the NFL, is to get away from that stuff and CEO the football.
Yeah.
But again, NFL experience, yes. High level sustained NFL experience, no. And so, you'd be taking a flyer. I think the Titans want to get away from taking a flyer.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And that's why I'm on board with the established defensive coach, rising star coordinator on offense, and knowing full well that this is in the middle of a rebuild. Lower expectations. And I know Brinker and Borgonzi kind of did that in the preseason, and nobody really listened to them telling us all this stuff.
I think we lowered our expectation. We just didn't lower them this low. No Schwartz, Jabari says. I think, I think you should take a look at a lot of people, and I'd put Schwartz on that list. That Cleveland defense, he's got Myles Garrett, but it's a pretty damn good defense overall. And he's got connections to the team, though I don't think they're as strong as Arthur Smith's connections. And I think Arthur Smith will definitely get a look out of, kind of professional courtesy, if nothing more than that. But I certainly think Amy Adams-Strunk will want to give him a look. I don't know about Borgonzi and Brinker.
I would assume no lower than Arthur Smith. Like,
right.
Like Arthur
the worst
Smith,
they should do is Arthur Smith.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's how I would look at it. If you look at a coach and you're like, I'd rather have Arthur Smith, then you shouldn't do it. I think that's
fair bar.
I think that's how you look at it.
And he needs to answer. I mean, look, Arthur Smith didn't have a quarterback in Atlanta. They kept putting it off, but also he's got to explain kind of his personnel usage. Bijan Robinson is a pretty damn good player, and he didn't manage to get the ball in his hands somehow.
It seems like they're doing all right. I know the second half of last night, notwithstanding, they're doing all right with an ancient quarterback right now. So we'll see. All right, Sinkers Beverages. Again, if you're listening live right now, which we do appreciate a lot of you, of course, thumbs up, notifications turned on the YouTube page. We got a lot of coverage coming for you this week. We got Hot Read. We got Thursday's episode. You got the Paul Kaharski podcast. You got Stillman and Company. So lots of great coverage of the Titans and all the other things that are going on. Vandy football, sort of the highlight of Nashville sports right now.
Tremendous.
Nashville SC, maybe one more match to go. We'll see on Saturday night against with Messi in town. You got college football heating up with the playoff right around the corner. The Preds are 500 at least for now, so we'll see. So lots of great coverage. PaulKaharski.com, of course, as well. I know the animals are all very excited.
Yes, very excited.
PaulKaharski.com.
Hey, I've got up right now. Just there's a lot of confusion about the Titans draft picks because there were a bunch of conditional stuff, and Rams had picks from multiple teams, and the Jets had picks from multiple teams. And what did the Titans get? I've got a piece up right now that sorts all of that out. So if you want to know whose picks the Titans got in these trades, that's up at PaulKaharski.com.
There you go. Spirits and Spirits. That is tonight. If you're listening live. And if you're a good early P1, we do appreciate you. Of course, Mickey's Tavern, 7 p.m. tonight, October 27th. That's tonight until midnight. We're going to have a special tequila single barrel release. So you want to come out and try it, come on by. Spirits and Spirits at Mickey's Tavern, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. Shotgun Willie's Barbecue as well, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. There's a mechanical bull. I'm not going to promise that it's an exciting ride, though. It's a very slow mechanical bull, but there is one there.
Sure.
If you like that. My 7-year-old enjoyed it. She was very calm. Then she looked at me and she goes, "Is this all it does?" I said, "Yes." Unfortunately, it's all it does.
You got to crank that puppy up. Get in there.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like soup it up somehow. Let's give it some catalytic converters. All right, PK, what else you got? Anything else? We good?
Scramble of a week. We shall see what's unfolded. I think I'm going to look at other decisions the Titans have made. Cough, cough. Cody Barton. Decisions the Titans have made and beyond the draft and how things are panning out, or, more significantly, not.
Yeah, there you go. Jabari says maybe Haslam will do us a favor and fire Stefanski. I think
he'd go right to the top of my list.
I 100% agree. If the Haslams could work together, like maybe one Haslam could tell the other Haslam, like, hey, I need a hockey coach. Hey, I need a football coach. Maybe we'll work something out here. I don't know what, but maybe they can figure something out.
Kevin Stefanski is a very good coach.
And Jimmy Haslam known for making very terrible decisions. So it's possible that
he's had some staying power, shockingly. So.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. True facts, as my 8-year-old says. All right. For PK, I'm Braden Gall, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, thumbs up, notifications turned on, all the great coverage across the 440 Sports Network. We do appreciate all you for being in the comments all the time. You guys are wonderful. It's why we get to hang out and why we get to do this each and every Monday and Thursday. For Paul, I am Braden. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you on Thursday.